Welcome back to Under Oath. Jadarius Rose, 23-year-old truck driver from Memphis, Tennessee. He's attacked by an Ohio canine dog during his attempt to surrender. I guess they pull him over. He might have something in the truck. He goes to surrender, and the dog goes full lion on him.
The dog goes full lion on him?
Full lion on him. Remember this? The tiger went tiger. Chris Rock talked about this one. Tiger went tiger. They train this dog to be able to attack and do all these things, and you hope that you can control it. Now, we've had many of these cases like that. Now, they're claiming this was a civil rights issue because I can assume Jadarius Rose, based on his attorney and based on what I'm reading, they're claiming that dog was racist.
What was it a civil rights issue? Because, let's rewind the clock.
I said they're claiming it.
Let's rewind the clock a little bit here. So they're pulling him over because he's missing a mud flap, right? Trucks are supposed to have mud flaps. I don't make the law.
You can't get arrested for a mud
I don't
flap.
make the mud.
You don't get arrested for a mud flap.
They weren't going to probably arrest him. They were probably going to pull him over and give him a ticket for not having a mud flap.
He was surrendering. What are you surrendering?
Why did they need spike strips if he was surrendering? Why didn't he pull over right away?
Okay, so they're using spike strips to stop the car because obviously
he didn't stop the car.
He didn't stop for some reason. So it's not a mud flap. We can agree it's not a mud flap.
The original reason the police claimed they were going to pull him over is to give him a ticket for not having a mud flap. Listen, if you don't want police pulling people over for not having mud flaps, then don't make it a law to have mud flaps on your trucks.
You know those things fall off all the time.
Maybe so, but what are they supposed to do
when they say this?
When an officer
you and I both know it's not about a mud flap.
When an officer, that's not true.
This guy didn't haul ass over a mud
violation.
Flap. He hauled ass because he either had a warrant or something else was going on.
Oh, you mean the reason the guy wouldn't pull over?
Yes, it wasn't the mud flap.
Something else is definitely going on.
I can't afford that mud flap tippet. I'm going full Smokey on the Bandit.
It probably wasn't even that serious. He probably just had a little pot in the truck.
He probably had a warrant. No, he might have had a warrant.
It probably was nothing serious at all.
I'm betting there was a warrant.
But it's so serious that he won't stop. They need spike strips. And he actually gets on a call with his mom. Mom, they're chasing me. Why don't you just pull over?
You see how fruity this case is? There's some things in here that we don't know.
There's definitely some things in here we don't know.
And here's the thing. As an attorney, I can't tell you how many times that Craig and I will be talking. I'm going, we're missing something, aren't we? And he'll go, we're missing something. Because whether the client can tell us. You can't trust the police report. You can't trust the news report. You can't trust any of the witnesses. It's tough being a lawyer. I got to tell you, everybody's lying all of the time, and everybody has a reason to lie. You know the only person not lying? Us. Other side's lying. Every time we deal with somebody, they hold back a little piece of data. And that data is always the one going, oh, yeah, the dent on the back of the car, I did that. It wasn't the accident, but I've already told us the accident, so
So now I'm stuck.
We're stuck,
and that's the worst, right?
And we're stuck with your stupid lie.
People, clients, defendants, they'll start off with a story, and they won't ever leave the story, no matter how much evidence you present to them that what they originally said can't possibly be true. They'll still stick to that story.
They can't give it up.
Why do people do that?
Because they're liars.
They think they're going to get more in trouble?
Yeah.
Like I'm going to get even in more trouble if I admit that I lied?
I think it's embarrassing. I think they're so embarrassed that they don't want to be thought of a liar that they keep lying, which kind of screws up the point of not wanting to be thought of as a liar, having to tell 50 other lies to defend that one lie.
Correct, because that's more reason.
Now you're a big liar.
That's more reason not to admit that you lied.
You were a small liar when we started. Now you just are like
All right, so everybody's lying. Liars. The guy driving the truck's lying. The police are lying. The media's lying. And we got to try and figure this out.
Yeah. Oh, and then comes, in these cases, I'm just going to say this. There's always the white knight that comes riding in on the horse. The attorney who's not licensed in that state and everything else, he comes flying in going, I'm going to be the defender of the downtrodden.
Just looking for a payday.
The downtrodden attorney shows up.
As long as there's a payday.
And I'm not going to tell you who this attorney is.
I don't show up. I'm not the white knight when there's not a big paycheck at the end of it. And who would that be, Jeff?
Oh, you mean, hold on.
Who would that be?
You were talking about yourself. I thought you were talking about.
Who would that white knight be?
We can't use the name because I don't want to get sued. Point is, you'll know who it is. There's only 2 or 3 of them. They come in at every time. They want the press because the press actually gets them business for free later. So even if they don't want to take the case, they will hop on it for all the press they can get. And then when the case blows up in their face, they haul ass. Now, this case, The white knight shows up and says, the police are racist. The way they handled the incident was racist. And potentially the dog is racist.
But they need it to be. The white knight doesn't get paid unless it's all racist. So no matter what happens, you have to claim that it happened because everyone was racist. So here's the interesting thing. So supposedly the guy has his hands up and he's quote unquote trying to surrender.
We've seen that.
Okay. What was actually happening at the time? Did they tell him because they needed spike strips to stop him? Like he turned this traffic ticket into a felony, right? That's what happened.
Oh yeah.
I'm now turning this traffic ticket. I would have got a $35. I might have got a warning. I might have got a $35 citation. Hey, next time you're at the truck stop, have one of those guys put a mud flap. I don't know what to tell you. I'm an officer. I'm supposed to enforce the law. The law says trucks need mud flaps. Please get one. That might have been all that was going to happen. But he took off. Needed spike strips to stop him. He called 911.
Did he think he was going to get away?
No, they needed to stop the truck.
Okay, no. Did he actually think a semi-truck? Did he actually think he was going to outrun the cops?
People don't think, man.
You know, Smoking the Bandit, it was the Trans Am that raced the cars, not the truck.
When you panic, you don't think logically.
You know, you're only panicking for a certain reason.
Well,
you do something wrong.
He might have been afraid. He might, maybe, let's give him benefit of the doubt.
In the middle of Ohio?
Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's say, okay, I'm black, the cops are white, I'm afraid they're going to do something, so maybe I keep driving a little bit, so I make sure that there's a bunch of attention, so that it's not just me and these particular officers. And then maybe that's why I called 911. Like, let's get everybody involved. I don't want it to be just me and these guys. So, okay, I get that. But at some point, when more police cars show up, and you're on the phone with 911, at some point you have to pull over. When they use the spike strips to stop you, I think you've gone too far at that point. And anyway, so he gets out of the truck and supposedly has his hands raised when the officer releases the dog. But we don't know if the officer was telling him to get on the ground.
Why would you release the dog if the guy...
Because he's not following commands.
Okay. If
that's the way it happened. I mean, we don't have a lot of information. Okay. So
somehow they're chasing him. They got the canine in the car with him.
Mm-hmm.
Who's ever chasing their... I would assume now there's more than one car. You and I had a case just like this, where the person was running from the police. He ran into a house. He did everything possible. They go, get down on the ground. Our client gets on the ground. He's spread eagle, and they release the dog. And the dog's chasing him. And our client's on the ground. And the dog just keeps chewing into the guy for like a minute. Just keeps chewing into the guy's leg. And our guy spread eagle on the ground, not fighting, not doing anything. But yes, he did run originally. But here's the problem. And I'm going to say this, and it's going to offend some people. It's a dog. It's not a human being. It can't make rational decisions. A dog does what you train him, and there's some DNA in him. But the fact is this, it's a pet. And now it's a trained weapon. And the idea of stopping a trained weapon, if your gun goes off wrong, you get rid of the gun. Or you fix it. I don't know if you can fix a dog in this situation. The dog that you and I had the case on, that dog had failed tests. It was set for retraining and everything else. But some police force go, oh, we love the dog. You know, Bruno is my friend. You know, because they confuse the difference. Officer Bruno, a police officer, a dog is not a police officer. You don't give, oh, we got this great gun, let's give the gun a medal. The dog is a weapon to protect the officer. I get that they're friendly and they're cute, but it's a weapon. And if the weapon goes bad, the weapon's got to be taken out of commission. Well, and I'm not talking kill the weapon. I'm talking about
here's some inconsistencies with respect to the police. All right. So he was fired from the police department, but at the same time, the police department says that this use of force and the canine policy was followed. So if that's true, if you're following the policy, why do you fire your officer? I think that the police department thinks maybe they didn't exactly follow the policy here.
Most police officers have unions.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You can't normally fire one without cause or without a hearing.
The union filed the grievance. And I think they're probably going to cite the fact, listen, you can't have them both ways. You can't say the policy was followed and also fire him at the same time. It's one or the other.
Normally in situations where political issues, where the white knight comes in, they have to show they did something. And I have a feeling that that's, some of the things the white knight was asking for was retire the dog, resignation of the police chief, drop all charges, race sensitivity training for all police officers, and 50% cut in the police department's budget.
Why would cutting the budget help?
Yeah.
What? So they have more money to give him?
I guess they're going to need it if he gets a big check. But when it comes down to it, I'm not anti-canine, but I do realize it's the most, how can I say it, irresponsible weapon that can be used, because it's a dog, and you never know when the dog goes dog.
I agree, and normally I'm not the one to side against the police, but when you release the dog, that is very potentially deadly force. And I get that maybe the guy's not getting on the ground if you tell him to get on the ground, but I don't know if that calls for potentially deadly force right away. Like, I think you try to talk the guy into the ground. That doesn't work after 30 seconds. Tase him, pepper spray him to get him on the ground. I don't know that you release the dog to get him on the ground. That seems like a weapon of last resort.
The issue we have is we've seen the videos. We've seen really bad canine videos. And if you're a canine police officer, I get it. You love your dog. Your dog's going to put himself in front of a bullet for you. The only problem is if that dog bites into a leg or an arm and busts an artery, it's game over. And you use deadly force.
Yeah, could be.
You use deadly force, and you're not allowed to do it, whether it be a gun, a dog, a car. So I think in this situation, there's a fact we're missing, and I think you and I can't possibly figure out what the right angle is on this case until we get the facts that we're not aware of.